Welcome to Global Village TV show today, and we are airing from JBS Center. We are very thankful to the City of Brooks who provided the venue. This is your host of the program, Ahmed Kasim. We have two great hosts today. Sorry, up?
We'll start again?
Start again, yeah. Guests, I meant, yeah. No.
Whenever you're ready.
Welcome to Global Village TV show. Today we are airing from JBS Center in Brooks, the city of 100 Hallows. This is your host, Ahmed Kasim. We do have two great guests today. We have our great mayor, Mayor John Petrie. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Ahmed.
Thank you very much. And we have Ebenezer Asare, who is a pharmacist who's been here almost 4 or 5 years now in the community, and also owner of Shoppers Drug Mart. Welcome to the program, Eben.
Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, it's a privilege and an honor to have this interview, especially with the mayor. So thanks, John.
Thank you. Mayor, you want to tell us a little bit about John Petrie?
I was born and raised in Drumheller, Alberta. My dad was a coal miner. He came from Eastern Europe, so he was an immigrant. And, I don't think I made the connection until actually sort of what happened in Brooks. But he was an immigrant, no different than a lot of people in Brooks. And he didn't know the language either. He learned, he had a German-Hungarian, background. And he didn't know English when he came to Canada, and he had to learn, English. So, and I found sort of the similarities between what's happening quite a bit here in Brooks. But anyway, I grew up in Drumheller, and I always had an interest in broadcasting. Even as a young person, I had an interest in broadcasting. I got into radio, and I eventually was at several different radio stations, ended up in Brooks in 1980, so I've been here for quite a while then. Met my wife here, and we raised 2 kids here, and I met my wife here, so we're living happily ever after.
There you go.
There's a short version of it, yeah.
Yeah, and you became a trustee, and then counselor, and then mayor. My wife was in the school system as a teacher, and my kids were in the school system. I was asked to, run for the school board, so I ran for the school board for 2 terms, 2010, 2013, and then I kind of moved over to city council. I had always an interest in civic politics. As a reporter, I covered municipal politics. I was always involved in the community in different aspects. I was on, the tourism board at one time. I was on the chamber. I was on, different boards at times. And then I got involved. I thought, okay, after the school board, I'm going to run for city council. Was fortunate enough to get elected. And then in the last term, I was asked to run for mayor. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to run for mayor. And I got elected. So I've been the mayor of Brooks. It's been 2 years this October here now. Well, so far I know you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So your dad was immigrated from Eastern Europe, East Germany.
Yeah, it would have been more the Austria-Hungarian. It goes back to the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. What had happened, not to talk too much about him, is he lost track of his family after the war and things like that. So I never ever knew anybody from his side of the family over there on that side. But the interesting thing about Drumheller was made up of a lot of different immigrants, from different parts of Eastern Europe at that time. And so they spoke a lot of different, different nationalities, spoke a lot of different languages there. But there was a common bond, much like what happens in Brooks here now too, is everybody was from somewhere else. Yep. And it's interesting because when I first got to Brooks in 1980, there was a similar thing there. Well, there wasn't maybe as many people from around the world. People, because of the oil boom in the 70s and 80s, everybody was from somewhere else. So you had a common bond. It was easy to start up where are you from? And you could talk about that. So there was that common bond. So there was almost innate ability to be friendly. You had to force yourself to sort of socialize and be friendly with other people there too. So.
Wow, and I'm sure they're going through a very tough time by coming here to a country that is unknown to him. And
a fascinating story, but no different than immigrants of today there too. Yeah.
Okay, Eben, you want to tell us a little bit about Eben? That's why we have your flag there. Both the flag from the the best nation, of one of the best nations in Africa, Ghana, and then Canada, Canadian flag.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ahmed. So yes, I'm Ebenezer. I'm a pharmacist, and I come from Ghana, west of Africa. I immigrated to Canada in 2009 after getting married to my dear wife, Sylvia. And so when we came, we first settled in Edmonton. And I had practiced as a pharmacist for 4 years in Ghana. And when I got here, I had to, in a way, make sure that my credentials were up to date here. And I always say this, that once you're a pharmacist universally. But then if you get anywhere, you need to understand the culture, and you need to understand the people, and then you need to understand their health needs. And that is where the variations come in. So when I got in here, I went through Braden Institute. At that time, it's now called Braden Center for Learning in Edmonton for 10 months program, which was a bridging program to help me in a way cross over and get licensed in Alberta. So I went through a series of exams, including English, and then some exams that was peculiar to pharmacy, 5 of them, and July 2011 was when I finally got my license and started practicing in Edmonton. So in Edmonton, I did practice for close to 8 years. 2019, myself and my dear wife, Edmonton was becoming a very busy place for us, especially with the kids, trying to get them into activities back and forth. So I do have 2 kids, Henry and Sarai, who are 13 and 9. So based on that, we made a solid decision to go to a smaller city where we'll be able to take care of the kids, pay attention to them, especially their growing needs, and also be able to work and be impactful in our community. And I say impactful because in Edmonton, we did quite a number of things. After practicing for about 3.5, 4 years, I did get my own franchise for Shoppers Drug Mart and started one in the north of Edmonton. And in 2012, after I was done with my licensure, I started training other foreign trained professionals in terms of how to challenge exams and how to get acquainted to what's happening here in Canada. And based on my voluntary contributions, the government somehow got a hold of me. And they made it more official for me to be at Braden Center for Learning and be training other professionals, which I did until July of 2019, when we decided to move here. So that's pretty much what led us to be here. And then here we got onto a shop as Larry Pratt, very influential person within this community, and he was a great mentor to us when we took over the Shoppers Drug Mart here. And it's been almost 5 years now, and we enjoy practicing pharmacy here in Brooks, and that's in short who I am.
So you're referring to Larry?
Yes.
Who used to be the owner
of the Shoppers Drug Mart,
So what makes you then, if you were in Edmonton, what makes you move to Brooks?
So I'll just, like I said, basically, Edmonton was becoming a bit hectic for us. Myself and my dear wife, we've been so involved within the community in Edmonton when it comes to church, when it comes to our private work, and then when it comes to, for me, my contribution to other healthcare professionals working with the government. So it got to a point where it was becoming quite difficult to pay attention to the needs of the kids. And so we said, okay, we'll look for somewhere where we don't have to be entangled with government work and then run a business, but then we'll have the time to be able to take care of these kids. And when the opportunity came, first it came in Fort McMurray, but we thought it was still a bigger place, so we let it go. But when Brooks came and we walked in here, the first place when we walked into the Shoppers Drug Mart, we saw different kinds of people from all walks of life. And I said to my wife, I'm like, we should go for this one. We're applying for this one. And that's what made that ultimate decision. And we haven't regretted it at all, because Brooks is proven to serve the very needs that we needed. And it's been a niche that we enjoy being here and we want to be here.
Very good. So you're Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I know. No, that's great that he's here. Whatever. Yeah, we welcome here. Yeah, he's been a good community supporter. Yes.
Yeah, and it's good someone that used to live in Edmonton
Yeah,
that came outside from the area and then saw the area. And first impression he had was a great area to live.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
And raise families.
Yeah. It's a nice selling point. Is if you want to get away from the major city and the traffic and the hustle and the bustle of the city, and even economically, it's a little bit cheaper to live here too. With housing and things like that, and you're not spending as much on transportation. So so we're glad he moved here. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Lisa yesterday, Lisa Tiffin, and she spoke very well about the wage.
The living wage.
The living wage and all that. So she did fantastic. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the city of Brooks from the municipality side.
Okay, like.
What so far you think you have achieved the 2 years? What is you think? And you guys have achieved a lot of good things.
Yeah, there's been a lot of little things, that we achieved, and you know what, and I'm going to focus on maybe one thing, and which is an essential need in the community here. We worked on an incentive plan to try to attract developers. Like we really have a challenge with housing, and I say we have a challenge with housing, but I tell the same story over and over again. It doesn't matter if you're in Toronto or Halifax or Kapuskasing or Brooks. We're all facing the problems with housing. But I told my council a number of months ago that we have to find a way to grow, because otherwise, if we don't find a way to grow, we have the same 15,000 people here paying for the property taxes, and we're into a period there where nothing is going to go down anymore. The cost to run this JBS Canada facility goes up. To pave roads, it goes up, and things like that. So we have to find a way to attract more people to live here. And we're just talking about Ebenezer coming here because of the rural way of life. But that's our biggest challenge. And we met with the Premier here just recently too. And I keep bringing it up. They talk about Alberta's population, wanting to increase by about 1 million people in the next 10 years. I says, I want some of those people here in Southeast Alberta. I know Medicine Hat Mayor Lindsay Clark wants her city to be 100,000. I'd love to have another 10,000 here, up to 25,000, in Brooks here. But in order to do that, we need housing, and so maybe we offered some incentive plans to get developers here, and we have the infrastructure. But in order to build housing, you have to build a lift station. The lift station moves, the wastewater around, and you have to bring in water and things like that. But we have a lot going for us. But we just need that sort of investment, in order to get the housing in this area here. That's our biggest challenge as a municipal government right now.
The west, I believe there is a building that's going to be soon. It takes time, but I believe that's what I was told. I'm not sure about the city or the county or probably province are working on a west side to, we have that garbage where you dump the garbage and etc. By Highway 36. They building another environmental.
A Saywall project. You're talking about the Southern Alberta waste to energy project there too. Yeah, that project's been going back for about 12 years there. We think it's a great project because it would bring bring a lot of workers during the construction phase, and then once it was going, you'd have the 80 permanent full-time employees. But it's one of those ones too that again if you bring people here, they still need a place to live there too. We had a chance, and this goes back to the former council too. We were looking at a pea processing facility with plant protein, and plant proteins are big in sort of in India and China and things like that there too. And we were willing to spend $5 million on a water line because you need a lot of water to do that, But we had lost out on that facility there to Saskatchewan at that time. And when we were talking to the Premier just recently too, they've changed the tax structure in order to attract some of those businesses too. But and she talks about that. We talk about too about the agri processing opportunities in Southern Alberta. JBS. What a great employer they are. 2,800 employees and great corporate citizens too. They're really good at giving back to the community there. But and we talk with them all the time too about housing. So that's our biggest challenge.
Wow, social responsibility. They are
very good.
one of the great employers in our area.
Yeah, oh yeah, very much so.
Or
yeah,
in the
yeah.
province, or in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
case,
yeah,
in Canada. Yeah. So, okay. So you have another shop list also in Medicine Hat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what's your involvement in the community? One is your work-related pharmacist, and one is involvement in the community since you joined, since you moved 5 years ago, I believe.
Oh yeah. So first and foremost, as a pharmacist, I always say that first. I'm a pharmacist first before any other thing. So I'm a community pharmacist, and I do my best on my day-to-day to make sure that community members are taken care of, especially their health needs when it comes to medications, and then when it comes to some, I would say, education in terms of health and things like that. So I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a pharmacist, and I meet community members every day. And we joined Medicine Hat late 2022 in September. So it's actually been more than a year. And I enjoy doing the same thing whilst I'm there to make sure I talk to community members and meet their health needs. Yeah, but apart from that, coming into Brooks, I've looked for other things and other ways that I can be impactful within the community, just as I was doing in Edmonton. And the first thing that I'll talk about is actually Global Village. Yeah, so it is an honor to be a volunteer at Global Village, and especially the John Ware youth program, where I get the opportunity to mentor other youth. And I get the opportunity to sometimes bring aboard some of the creative ideas that I do have and the things that are more realistic that will help the youth within the community. And sometimes it's not really tangible, you don't see it, but then some of the contributions that we make, and at the long run, the fruits are very evident, and people see it within the community. But they might not know that these ideas are coming from places like a pharmacist and other people that volunteer on John Ware. So that's one thing. And then within Brooks, I'm part of the Medicine Hat College Board of Governors, which I think that was also early this year that I joined the board. So far, it's been good. I represent Brooks, and I believe I'm doing a good job. I'm learning a lot there as the months go by. Yeah. And then there are things that I know under my sleeve I'll be able to do to make sure Brooks is also attracting people here, especially when it comes to the campus that we have here. That is part of Medicine Hat College. That's another thing. And then being a good citizen, that's what I would say, to make sure I'm available when it comes to community needs. When we have to do things within the community, I want to make sure I'm part of it and getting to know everybody. And it's always a pleasure to see the smile on people's faces when they see me. Yeah.
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic contribution, positive contribution, I would say, to the community. Also, not to mention, but the professional, the newcomers professional training, which you started also with the people who just arrived from overseas, pharmacists.
Oh yeah.
So he started also training a pharmacists coming from overseas as part of our collective vision with Eben and Showbiz is to train professional people coming to our community and help them to get their integration to the community, but also to process, and he's very the right person to do that.
And there was a real need for that here too, in the community there. Yeah,
I think we started not long ago. I believe was about a month, 2 months ago.
2 months ago,
yeah. We started the first group that came from overseas, pharmacists, highly qualified, and they're going for their credential. We hope they will be soon joining to be a pharmacist. But also, we're going to train more of the professional training centers as a rural area. And that's what we're also missing in our area.
Exactly.
To have a professional center to train when they come. So John, you want to touch base with the what gives you a motivation?
I think that's always a tough question sometimes, though. I'm motivated by seeing progress in the community or finding ways that you can maybe contribute and help in the community there too. So you want to see it's you were talking about sometimes you don't see things right away though, and that's I think the difficult problem with politics is there's little increments all the time, and it takes a while, and then at the end you eventually see the fruits of your labor there. So you have your plans, and it's nice to be on the committees and nice to work with council and come up with plans for the future. And I think at this point in my life, I think those are the things that motivate me there too. You want to see Brooks progress, and want to see and I call the Brooks Newell region our region progress. I love this area here there too, so I want to make it very successful. So that's what motivates me.
And what are the challenges and opportunities so far you have faced the last 2 years in terms of mayorship? Challenges and opportunities that you see.
It's
always a challenge.
I think economics is always a challenge. Housing would be the big challenge. Attracting businesses. We're almost too far away from the city. We're 200 kilometers away from Calgary. Whereas the what I call the bedroom communities outside of Calgary, they automatically are the beneficiaries, whether it be Okotoks, Chestermere, Strathmore, Airdrie. We're almost a little bit out of the way there too, and yet at the other end we're almost a little bit too close to Medicine Hat. We're only 100 kilometers away, which is an hour away, to maybe attract more retail, which we often talk about having a better retail sector, like in this community here too. So those are the challenges. Sometimes we're too far away, sometimes we're a little bit too close, because with our transportation nowadays it's so easy to get from Brooks to Medicine Hat. But it would be nice, for our retail sector, and the other thing too, I think we'd like to see a few other industries here too, so we're not sort of dependent on one industry. Whereas JBS Canada is a great industry. It'd be kind of nice to have maybe a few smaller ones there too in this community here too. So
I'm living a testimony, John. I think with your leadership, you're doing great together with the council, and I think there is always an opportunity.
Yeah.
All we need is to promote the area as much as we can.
Yeah, and we work on that, as both the county and the city work on that. We're open.
Yeah.
Where I hear some community, we're open to business. We welcome anybody. We talk to anybody. We're open and we're ready for business. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Eben, what are the challenges and opportunities that you face? I know that we talked one time back, the health literacy is one of the challenges that you see at the Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yeah,
especially newcomers.
Yeah, especially newcomers. So you had it right there on the head in terms of the challenges that I do see. But then again, I'll talk from the perspective of a pharmacist. If sometimes language is a big barrier when it comes to people of all different backgrounds and diverse backgrounds, but we've in a way we've had some fluidity in terms of making these things work. And the good thing about what we do is that we still have a very diverse population when it comes to our workforce here in Brooks. And I'm not just talking about Shoppers Drug Mart, but other places where people have gainful employment. So sometimes we fall on people who work at the front to say, hey, I have one person here who speaks this language, if you can help translate. And then Google Translate makes it easy sometimes too, that we're able to use those ones to make sure that we're carrying the messages across. But then, notwithstanding, the biggest challenge when it comes to health is more health literacy. And I keep talking about health literacy, the term health literacy, because of the differences in the cultures that we have. And because it's quite diverse, it makes it a bit buoyant, and it becomes a very big picture. And you realize that over here in Canada, and especially within our city, thanks to what John and his cohorts are doing, there's a lot of emphasis on disease prevention rather than curative measures for diseases. And when we have immigrants coming in or other people coming from other places, whether refugees or other people, sometimes the federal government does a very good job in making sure that certain things are taken away in terms of their medicals and things like that. But when it comes to disease prevention and things that will make us functional here and make us not be absent from work too much. Example, let's just use the COVID and flu vaccines, pneumonia vaccinations, and things like that. These are not part of certain cultures outside of Canada. But then when people come in here, we have to be intentional. And here, I do have the mayor here, and I know we're doing a lot, but it's something that it's personal on my mind that I would like to send across, that we want to be intentional in talking about disease prevention, especially for people who are newcomers that come in, so that they understand why we are vaccinating, why we are preventing these diseases, and what it means. Because sometimes it's not about them. It's about the vulnerable population that we have, because we're interacting with them at work, we're interacting with them in the schools, we're interacting with them everywhere. And it's, in a way, being mindful of things like that. So that's one of the biggest challenge. And tied into that is also the language barrier, which we do a very good job. I know there are a lot of units here that help with English as a second language to make sure that people understand English and can speak English. Interestingly, I met a Ukrainian pharmacist, actually, that I was helping a daughter one time. And we were doing the Google Translate, and I said, have you joined any of the programs here for English? And she sent me a thing to say, yes, she's joined. And I'm like, we'll be happy to have you. Take it serious. And once you're done, I want to have a chat with you and see how best we can get you on board, because you're a healthcare professional. Yeah. And there are a lot of Ukrainians here as well in Brooks that at the end of the day, if you have your license to practice, we have a benefit of somebody like that. And then when we talk about the opportunities here in Brooks, I personally believe is enormous. And again, we can't do everything within a very short period of time. It takes time for these things to happen. But there's a lot of opportunities out here in Brooks when it comes to work. And especially, I'll just re-echo the points of our mayor in terms of attracting businesses to come in here. There are other things that we can benefit from as a community that will make us holistic for other people to see us and come here. And we're just saying out there that there's too many opportunities here in Brooks. You think about it, bring the idea, let's talk about it, and let's get it running.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even you hit the nail on the head, and I think that's something that we touched base with John some time back. The most important that you mentioned now is the newcomer side. So as a newcomer professional person, we need how we're going to help also, not only in terms of disease prevention, but also integration. Integration goes both ways. It doesn't go one way. If you isolate yourself for your own reasons, you won't be able to integrate to the society. So we have obligation to give them the benefit of integrating to the other side. So that's going to be beneficial to the large community. Yep. English is an issue, the language. But if you reach out, if you build your own social net, it's good for you to volunteer, to get to know people. But don't always isolate yourself. Because once you isolate yourself, then you start blaming other people for your shortcoming. And that's what human race is all. Human race, they are all the same. They start blaming other people for their shortcoming. I can't blame anybody that comes to my way. I cannot drive my car because of, this person is looking at me. This is racism. Yeah, there's a racism everywhere you go. That's fine. But we need also to move the needle. We need to move to the side of how can we work together, inclusiveness, if I'm not mistaken. If everyone stays their silo, it's not going to be beneficial to the city of Brooks nor the county of New York. So we need other professionals to step up on the plate and then bring everyone on board. So volunteering is one, mentoring is another one. So no one is preventing you. So we have a lot of good professional people. That's about time they I will step up on the plate. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, you know what, and there's two angles to that too. You know, like as somebody that's been around in the community for a long time, we have to open up the door and be accepting too of other cultures. And you're right, you know, in order to sort of get involved. But I also see a lot of times, and it is, it's difficult though for parents sometimes to be, you know, to get out there because they're busy, you know, working and raising a family. But maybe it's their kids that will get involved in the community too. And it might be the next generation that spreads it out a little bit there too. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, John, also, if any person goes to the food bank and say, I wanted to volunteer, I think they will welcome you.
Yeah.
If you go to call the city and say, I want to volunteer, they will direct you somewhere.
Yeah.
If you go to the organizations, they will welcome you. But I think you're right, the local also have to open up and show the willingness of accepting other people to be on either on the board or committees.
Right, exactly,
That's true indeed. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways, yeah.
Yeah, but it's very important, and I think disease prevention is that health literacy umbrella that I think extremely important, because health literacy is back home is different than here.
Yeah.
And you know very much, John. So it's a prevention not for the individual, but also for the community.
For the community itself,
Yeah, and it's a joy. So it's a flu. We are in flu season. Yeah, and I think that's most of the people that half of them that I know of, they have no clue about what the flu season is.
I was going to ask, because you're both from different countries there, do you have a flu season? Did you have a flu season in your country? Did you have a flu season in Ghana?
I think it's an ongoing thing. It's an all year round thing.
Okay.
The term that coined, the term that they coined a term they call Qatar. And if you look it up in the dictionary, in that way it talks about the symptoms of flu, and it's an ongoing thing. It's just nobody talks about prevention, right?
And the difference is most of the home countries we come from, we don't have winter where people have been forced to stay together because of you can't go out. There's no winter, so that helps also the weather. People won't be stuck somewhere. They can still, say 12 months, we do have a seasonal different rain and all that. But I think, but in terms of flu season or those, no, we, that's not in, same as a volunteering, it's not in vocabulary. Back home, we don't volunteer. If you ask me to do something for you, you have to pay for it. It's the freedom of the countries that we come from. So you want to tell us a little bit about the Shoppers Drug Mart. Is it the business model of Shoppers Drug Mart? Is it a franchise or is it?
So I don't want to talk on behalf of Shoppers Drug Mart.
No, just in general.
Yeah, but then Shoppers Drug Mart definitely is a corporate organization.
Okay.
That I can say. And the way the model is quite different from the traditional franchisee model. But then one thing I can say is that Shoppers Drug Mart offers everybody, and if I say everybody, every healthcare professional, especially pharmacists, the opportunity to do business in partnership with them. So I just want to be careful to use the word everybody, because Shoppers Drug Mart across the nation has different pharmacists from different backgrounds and different cultures. But then you need to be a pharmacist to be able to be in partnership with them and own one, basically. And I always say thank you to Shoppers Drug Mart for the opportunity, especially coming into this country and the path that I have taken. Shoppers has immensely contributed to my growth as a pharmacist, and I continue to work with them happily. But then I think within the community here in Brooks, I'm sure the people of Brooks are well aware of what Shoppers stands for and what we do. offering health needs to the community. We have a term that we've coined, and that's the vision of Shoppers Drug Mart Canada, to help Canadians live life well. And in a way, in carrying out that vision, it's more a vision of convenience to make sure that there's a Shoppers Drug Mart within a certain length between home and where the Shoppers Drug Mart is, where people can easily access their health needs, and then their beauty needs, and then their household needs, right? So that's what we do. Anything household, we want to make sure that we have it. People can conveniently come in, and then the convenience is more the ease of shopping and the ease of having identify somebody within our retail network whilst you're in the store that can easily point you around or show you around, so you don't have to go in circles looking for things for yourself. And it's still seen within our pharmacy. Again, I always say very good job for our pharmacists here within Brooks. I've met a lot of pharmacists here since I came in, and they're doing a fantastic job. But then when it comes to Shoppers Drug Mart, probably what makes us stand out is the convenience that a pharmacist can offer you. You can just call that pharmacist anywhere as long as you're there and say, hey, I need this, and then they'll walk to the aisle with you and make sure that you're taken care of, right? So that's what we do within the community, yeah. And
John, we had yesterday also one of the segments, both Reg as a chair of the Brooks Housing, and Sasha, who is the Newell Housing Chief Administrative Officer. In order to attract businesses or you have to have a labor force. In order to have the labor force, you have to have housing for them. So how difficult is from the city perspective of the county in the region to attract business or labor when you have a problem of the housing?
Well, yeah, it's that old chicken and egg thing, and in order to attract either industry or business, if people are going to come to Brooks, they want housing. And I like to use the word, I can talk about affordable housing, because we do need, the governments have to be involved in what I call social housing. There's not, they have to be involved in that. But the word that's come out lately is attainable housing. Attainable housing would be for even two young professionals. Let's say, he's a nurse and she's a teacher, whatever, both making pretty good incomes, but they want a nice home in order to live there. So it has to be attainable, for them, and that's the type of housing we need. So we do need there's sort of a couple different levels. We do need social housing. There's nothing wrong with that, because governments have to be involved in that, but we also have to find developers in order to get attainable housing, in order to attract the young professionals and to keep them here too.
Yeah, because I think the pharmacist who came now onto Shoppers Drug Mart, his wife is also happened to be a dean from back home. Yeah. They need attainable housing. Yeah. And it's difficult to get the housing here. Regardless.
And the challenge right now is because everybody's looking after housing, like I had said before. For a developer, it's easy for them to go, to Calgary or to Chestermere or to Airdrie. If they build 500 homes, they know they're going to sell 500 homes. Yeah. If somebody comes here, they build 100 homes, and if they have to sit on 2 or 3 or 4, with the interest rates, it's adding to their margins and their costs there too. So that's why they're more apt to go to the city, where they're more apt to make, a profit on that, or sell their property there too. So.
But it's very tough then.
It's tough, but we're working on, we're working on different things, and it's slowly coming. We've talked to, people that will, whether it be sort of row housing or apartments. I mean, we've talked to some developers, even with apartments, because what it does do, if we can move some people into, apartments, it's a stepping stone until they get into a house and things like that too.
So some kind of a transitional.
Yeah, well, transitional, and most of us grew up that way. I went from home. I lived in an apartment. You save up money and then you buy a house, whatever. That's sort of transitional. That's sort of the way the life has been around in Canada here too. Yeah, transitional period there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the federal and both provincial have a role to play then.
I think if we're going to be bringing in, more people, and we want more people, into this country. We're a small nation with a lot of land, and we need more people, especially, the demographics too, as the baby boomers age. We're going to have to find replacement workers for a lot of those baby boomers there too. So, in order to do that, they're going to need, housing on that there too. So.
More
And good, we have that one development, in Brooks here, the Wellings of Brooks, and that's about 160 units, and it's for, the infrastructure is in place, but it's for seniors. But if seniors are moving out of their house into this Wellings project, it opens up an opportunity or a house there too. So. So there's that multiplier effect there too.
That's
so
fantastic.
that's good. So hopefully the infrastructure's in. So hopefully like they start building and everything's ready to go within a year here. So
So then the seniors will move to
maybe some seniors, and then
house,
it opens up a house there too. So
that's a good strategy. Even what gives you motivation then?
Motivation, what gives me motivation? That's a very interesting question. I don't know if there's one answer to it, but then I personally, I think it's the people I serve, the community members. That's what I would say. Because each time I come to work as a pharmacist, and I always get back to the fact that I'm a pharmacist, and I do my job, and somebody says, but thank you for doing this. And I'm like, it's just my job. And it's like, then you do it well, right? When I hear things like that, I always want to come back to the pharmacy. And people actually give me motivation. The fact that I have that innate ability in terms of, for me, it's more get up and show up. And once you show up, you do your best. So I have that inner self-motivation to show up. And then the rest, I leave it to making sure that I'm doing the right training, I'm learning the right things, I'm making sure I'm up to date with knowledge, and then I'm making sure that I'm integrating very well with the community so I can be a problem solver. And once I put that smile on that person's face, it keeps me going, and it keeps me want to do more.
Fantastic. John, why would someone, for example, within Canada or outside, why would they consider moving to Brooks or County of New York?
Well, I talked about this before about the cost of living, and really in Southern Alberta, our climate is really good. I mean, it does get cold here, but for the most part, being a little bit Southern Alberta compared to what it was in Edmonton, where it was cold all the time, whatever, our climate's a little bit better. But one of our biggest assets right now is our immigrant population. We have 35% new Canadians, almost 50% visible minority. People want to go where they're comfortable, and that's one of our biggest assets right now. And we're not, we saw the immigration, like in the 80s, when with the oil and gas boom that came from across Canada and mostly was predominantly white. But our immigration now, and like my dad came from Eastern Europe, which was predominantly white. Now we're getting immigration from all over the world, But so that's one of our biggest assets, I believe. People want to, they want to be with people they're, they can relate to or they're comfortable with there too. So that's one of the nice things about Brooks. And I've often said, with Brooks, economically it's nice to live here, and we're only 2 hours away from an international airport. If you're in Toronto somewhere, it probably takes you longer to get to Pearson than what it would for me to go from Brooks to the Calgary International Airport. It's only 2 hours. Whereas if you're in Etobicoke or something like that, it probably takes you longer, to get to Pearson. So, we're not that far. And we got, like I say, Southern Alberta, we're close to Medicine Hat, close to Calgary. So,
And we do have dinosaur.
We do have great recreation, in this area here. We got a great facility here, with the JBS Canada Center. We have amazing amenities, a great swimming pool, indoor soccer, the CRA, and thanks to the Eastern Irrigation District, we got Lake Newell. What a beautiful lake. We got Rolling Hills Reservoir, Qualling Valley, so there are a lot of outdoor activities we can do in this area here too. So
a lot of people come from Calgary. Some of my family members come from Calgary to Lake Newell.
Lake Newell,
Every summer, every time they come all the way from Calgary. that's the place they come for.
No, what a nice asset we have. Yeah.
Yeah, apart from we have a great mayor and great Arnold, the RIB, we have good councillors, both the city and the county that welcomes. And same thing with the business then. I would imagine someone who wants to move their business in this area.
Yeah, we're open, and the other thing too I want to mention too is like our city invested in the fiber optic network there too, and we put money into that, and so we're hoping that will attract people too, because I think we learned from the pandemic that you don't have to be on the 20th floor in Calgary, to work anymore. You can work, from anywhere as long as you have good internet. And so we invested in that, in order, and we hope maybe that keeps the youth here. We hope it maybe brings some other industries that, need accessibility to that too, So, we're not sitting back, we're trying to do things.
So that's the high speed internet.
The high speed internet, yeah.
Wow, no, that's fantastic. I think that will add also value into people can work from here. Yeah, while they're sitting here rather than the hectic of the downtown in Calgary.
Yeah, and the nice thing, I mean, your family's grown up here too, and the nice thing, and I know you got a young family too, and I, if there was a problem with one of my kids at school, whatever, I was only 5 minutes away. Okay, well, if they're sick or something like that, you couldn't do that in the city. No, if your kid was sick, you'd have to travel 45 minutes an hour to go get them. Or her,
southwest of southeast of northeast of Calgary. I think the traffic jam, especially to avoid traffic in the morning or
or the afternoon,
It's
now it seems 24 hours, in the city,
It's no, I think that's very good. So, even, what do you think the advantage of a diverse communities such as the one we have in Brooks area
Also,
in terms of economic development?
Yeah, so in terms of economic development, what I think personally, especially diversity, there's a lot of strength in diversity, right? And we can only highlight a few for the sake of our time. But then one, there's a lot of different ideas that come from different people, right? And sometimes it's interesting. I want to use the model of plucking somebody who is very familiar with things done within a certain community and then plucking them out and taking them into a different community. What they know as mundane or everyday thing might be very unique. And somebody sees that and go like, oh, that's different and that's workable. We can really use this idea. But then for that person who is bringing that idea to bear, it's something they do normally on a very everyday basis, right? So that's what brings the strength and the diversity that we have as a community. Yeah, so I would say there's a lot of rich ideas within this community, and I know it takes time for these things to come to fruition, but from time to time we're seeing it. It's becoming evident, and to John's point, like my wife wouldn't have a business of her own if we still lived in Edmonton. I keep saying that. Wow. And thanks to the city of Brooks and what they're doing, she's had the opportunity to open her own business, and she's running and doing something that she loves doing. But for 17 years, she's done this within a corporate organization. But now she's doing it on her own and in a way self-employed, and she's contributing to the community as well. And those are the things. But for her, it comes naturally. But being plugged here into Brooks, you go like, oh, that's a different concept, but then it's helping the community. And that's what I mean when I talk about richness in ideas and the strength that comes with diversity. And then for us here too, again, being a smaller community and growing, there's a lot of opportunities. And I can't really, again, talk about such opportunities that we have here in Brooks. You just have to show up, decide to move here, and then begin to kind of start to till the ground and work your way up.
Just to add to that, it's interesting as you go around the community, we talk about the diversity there, the different ethnic restaurants in town or the different ethnic stores. And I know there's just a new, Hela meat shop that, opened up. But those are, businesses, that, maybe have come from somewhere else. But a lot of opportunities, where people have opened up different, stores, whether, be the clothing stores or furniture stores or things like that too, eh? So, I mean, and that's, from the diversity in the community here now.
And food brings people together.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a new store that's called Halo Meat.
Yeah, I just saw the sign yesterday on that. But I mean, it fills a need in the community here too. Yeah. So yeah.
Now we have a good number of business, local business. That's a small business of diversity. We have other local businesses in town. In terms of it adds a richness of the community.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Taste of Nations is one of those.
One of the highlights of the year all the time. Taste of Nations. Yeah.
Actually, I was in a meeting in Medicine Hat, and they were thinking of having the same Taste of Nations in Medicine Hat, which is good.
Yeah.
At least something they can take from here to Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
To Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
You wanted to ask a little bit about the Premier's Council. Is it
The
on
Premier's Council on
multicultural?
Multiculturalism? So I think it's a council that was formally inaugurated in April of this year by our Premier, Daniel Smith. And again, looking at the growing needs, not just of Canada, but especially for us here in Alberta, immigration has become a huge part of the economy here, and not just the economy, but living, basically, right? So I think the Premier has done very well, and the government at the moment in initiating the Premier's Council on Multiculturalism. So basically, it's a 29-member council that is chosen from, they've chosen people from different backgrounds to represent different ethnicities, as well as so to speak, Canadians or Albertans, right? So there's a lot of different people with vast experience and then they're also representing the different geographical locations within Alberta. And so it's the whole idea is to advise the Premier on issues of multiculturalism. So it's an advisory council, and I happen to be one of the people that is on that board. And I'm glad I'm on that board to be able to make my ideas known and to be able to also represent our region, especially for southeast part of Alberta. And I keep saying it's when we go and we say, I represent Brooks Medicine Hat region, and then in a way we still, there's a lot of things that we're discussing that I can't talk about here, but then definitely a contribution that we're making for Alberta, and I'm glad to be part of this council.
Yeah, I think and that was an honor, because when the government reached to us and they were asking about who will be the right person from this area of the rural, the first person come to our mind was Eben, because he's a very community-minded.
Yeah.
He's a local, he has experience, he has everything that they were looking at the time. And we recommended Eben to be the person that represents our area. And we are very honored, and he accepted, and I think very honored to have him.
Good choice.
Yeah. We have to look the community-minded person that to recommend, because we have a lot of good people, community-minded, but at that time specifically, Eben was our first choice and the only choice. The volunteering is coming very difficult nowadays. And people don't volunteer nowadays, whether they are newcomers or local. Newcomers is something new to them, but also local people. Sometimes people get tired of the volunteering. It's not used to be before, and the reason. There are many factors. How would we encourage the community to volunteer to either committees, board, or events? That helps also not only the community, but also helps themselves in terms of their, mental wellness and physical and all that. So it's a very win-win situation where you volunteer.
Yeah, I'll backtrack a little bit, and I look around the Brooks Newell region, and you look at the outlying communities there. When they wanted something built, the community got together to do it because there wasn't a lot of government funding to do that. There wasn't grants to do that because I played hockey out in Dutchess there, and they needed a new arena, and I remember volunteering. We all sort of either sold tickets and we helped build a house, whatever, to raise money, and you had to do that. And if you wanted something new, you had to sort of volunteer to do that, and it brought you together. And you're right, it does make you feel good. And then I think what happened over time, it almost became too easy to get government money to do these projects. So what had happened, there was a generation that didn't have to sort of get involved in that. But now I think to get people involved in boards and things like that, I think the people that are on the boards, myself included, anybody else, municipal politicians, yourself, and even whatever, we have to go out and we have to basically sell that and say, we have to do that. And I know you had talked about too with the immigrant community saying it's something new to them, go out and volunteer, to do something. So we have to go out and sell them and educate people on the advantages, of doing that. And because you bring something positive to the community, you're building something tangible. And secondly, you're building, like some, you're feeling good about yourself. And it goes back to, your health. That if you feel good about yourself, you're not going to get sick as much. And if you contribute, we are as human beings, we have an insatiable need to connect with other people. We love to connect with other people, and as you know, and you could probably testify, when we connect with other people, it makes everybody healthy. And that's I think the thing that we have to tell people about volunteering, on that. Yeah, in the mental health, yeah.
Yeah, helps. Especially for the newcomers, what would you suggest them to encourage them to volunteer?
Also, when it comes to volunteering, again, some people might not know, and that's what we're talking about. So, especially with, we can start with the centers that welcome newcomers within the community, to begin to probably educate and begin to let them know what opportunities are there for volunteering. Because again, if you don't know something, then you can't do much. Yeah, but then it's when you understand and know and you're educated about it that you're able to kind of take the first step to say, okay, I want to volunteer. When I came to Canada, I volunteered for 1 year. And I keep saying that the first time I had a job to be paid in Canada, I said, hey, I'm Eben, I'm the pharmacist on duty, how can I help you? And that was my first paycheck. But prior to that, I did volunteer. And it was a very good time that I learned a lot of things as a volunteer to understand the culture, even the language. I come from Ghana, West of Africa, where we start school right from grade 1, it's English throughout to university. However, coming into Canada, I realized that there were certain slangs and there were certain lingos that I needed to know so that if I'm talking to a Canadian, it's easier for them to understand me, right? So, and these things, I had to volunteer to gain this experience. So what I would say is that with us here in Brooks, especially with, I don't know if places like BCIS and then those that, we welcome newcomers, probably they want to make that part of their portfolio to introduce these newcomers to volunteer, and then probably look within, connect with the city to be able to connect with other businesses and other places where there's possible opportunities for volunteering.
I think they do have a volunteer coordinator.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, I think they do have a volunteer. My final question, Mr. Mayor, is youth of today, those ones who graduate from high school or those ones who already graduated but still wanted to have a dream with their potential, through their potential and all that. Life is not always the way you predict. Life is always ups and downs. What message do you have for them to continue their path so they can reach their potential and success, whatever that success might look to them?
Yeah, you know what? I come from a generation, sort of the baby, you got hooked into it, and maybe that's the wrong word. You do a job and then you do it for 40 years, eh? Yeah. I think the youth of today, and that's what I tell my kids, is take chances. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid, to take a chance and to do something different, mm-hmm. And don't be stuck into something that you might not enjoy. Take the chances. And we live in a world now where the technology changes so much, so fast, that jobs of today might not be around in 10 years down the road. So the youth of today, it has to be probably more adaptable than my generation. Where things did change, but they changed at a slower pace. So the youth of today, they're going to be changing faster. Like I say, the jobs today might not be around in 10 years down the road. So take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. As society, we treat failure bad, whatever. Yeah. But failure should be really success because you learn so much from failure.
So failure makes you stronger. Yeah. To reach your potential.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so don't be afraid to fail.
No, don't be afraid to fail and take chances.
Oh, that's a very good advice, Mr. Mayor. And you want to add what the mayor just mentioned?
Yeah, so what I want to say is that probably coining the term that our mayor used, the word chances, because this is interesting. Just this week I was with my son and he listens to radio a lot. And he said, they promoted this person and he's been working with the company for 30 years. So it's like, so all these 30 years, isn't now that they realize they have to promote this person? So this was a question he posed to me whilst we were driving. And then I said to him that, yes, that's kind of the culture of some organizations. And when people find what they're doing and they love what they're doing, they continue to do it. Now, the promotion doesn't mean that this person hasn't evolved within the company. They probably would have evolved and advanced in different sectors of the company to get to where they are. And to Mayor's point of chance, I told him, I'm like, but then, again, that probably might not be you, or that probably might not be me. But the difference is taking risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference is going for it, and there's no ideal time to start anything, whether it's education or whether it's something that you want to get to know more about, or whether it's something that you need to spend some time and money to acquire a new skill. What we want to tell the youth and what we want to tell people or the general population is that there's nothing like the right time. The right time is now. Once you have that idea, run with it. And it might come with its own casualties. And that's what we call failures. But then, it might come with it, but then you want to pick up the pieces from wherever you left it off and then move on. And the biggest thing is, again, it's the words that our mayor used, the chance. Do not be afraid of risk. Take the risk, hold it on, be responsible, be accountable to yourself, take responsibility, and move. Move now. Don't wait for everything to line up for you. Nothing is going to line up. There's nothing like the perfect time. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
And don't believe victimhood.
No.
Absolutely.
Take responsibility.
Yeah.
No, I think thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Eben, and thank you very much for actually providing that youth the media training. They loved it very much. They're still doing it, and I think that gives them also a confidence building for the youth by hosting the broadcast and all that. And thank you, Eben, for your contribution to the community, especially to Global Village. And we hope you to see more of your involvement in the community for years to come, and maybe the next 20 years, 25 years, probably. Hopefully you'll be around. Yeah.
And I'm glad to be here again. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for being on this show with me. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is your first time Global Village TV.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, wow. No, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We have one of the greatest mayor in the province, Mr. Mayor John Petrie, and also we have one of the best Reeve in the province, our Reeve Arnold. So I think this is a great region, and if you are watching the program, please come and visit. We do have a Lake Newell, we have a dinosaur, we have a beautiful city, Brooks, the city of Hallows. Just come and visit and make, this is the best area to work and raise your children and your family. So until then, this is Ahmed Kasim, your host of the program. Thank you very much for coming, and hope we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Until then, God bless everyone, and I will see you next time.
Mama.